Hi class, welcome to week one. In the first week of the course, we're going to take a quick look at projects and project management, just kind of a review, and understand why projects and project management play such an important role in an organization's success. The readings I've assigned for this week, this first week, really does introduce us to the world of projects and project management. There are really some powerful environmental approaches or forces that have contributed to the rapid expansion of project management approaches to business problems and opportunities. And we're going to explore these environmental approaches, or excuse me, the environmental problems or forces that help to shape so many of our projects and our project management approaches. So you will identify some of the characteristics of project work and investigate why project management has become a common approach to initiating and managing change in organizations. We'll examine typical life cycle of a project and spend some time understanding the value of using an integrative approach to managing projects in the organization. We really do need this foundation so that we understand how project stakeholder and communication management really does influence our project environment, and why and how we use project quality management to ensure that our projects are completed as expected in terms of project objectives of time, cost, and scope, and the requirements of the project. So just a little background on programs and project management or projects, and why we really do need effective stakeholder and communication management. We know that a project is a complex, non-routine, one-time effort, limited by its time, its budget, the resources. Every organization doesn't have unlimited resources, and of course the specifications that make the project so unique. There are differentiating characteristics of projects from that of routine, repetitive daily work. So a project, and you probably already know this, but I just want to go over this again, but a project has a definite lifespan and a project life cycle. So it starts and it ends on a given specific time. It just doesn't go on forever. Project has a well-defined objective or multiple objectives. It typically involves people from several different disciplines, your stakeholders. The specific time, cost, and performance requirements make projects what they are, a project. So we also have programs within the organization. And you might consider using the term programs and projects interchangeably, but really they're two different animals. They're two different concepts and are much different. A program is simply a group of related projects that are designed to accomplish a common goal or they accomplish a common goal over an extended period of time. And so each project within this program has a project manager. The program will have a program manager that guides the work of each of the project managers. The major differences that you see in a project and a program is the scale and the time span that a project and program has. So a program can really become quite large and complex and last for many, many years. You might think our Department of Defense is someone who has very large programs, and within each program they have multiple projects that some of these programs do take decades to complete. A major system, warfare system that they might be integrating into the Department of Defense programs. Those are very large and may take decades to complete. So program management, of course, is the process of managing the group of ongoing interdependent, and they're always interdependent and related, projects in a coordinated way to achieve the strategic objectives for the organization. You could even think of information technology that would be a large program, and they might have multiple projects within this. So I think you understand the difference in programs and projects. But, we really want to focus our attention on the projects and the stakeholders and the communication and the quality within projects. So to sort of think about how you might manage the stakeholder and communication within just individual projects and how this work might impact the program level as well as of course it's going to impact your project level, but just think about how that might impact your program level as well. The quality of individual projects will certainly influence the overall performance or the quality of a program. So we want to make sure that all of our projects, being interrelated, that they all are working toward a common goal to have a very, quality program. So we want to make sure that our projects are in quality, have good quality control of them. It's really almost impossible to separate the two. What happens to the individual projects will also impact the program. Okay. And definitely we don't want to confuse the projects with individual everyday work. Like I said before, a project is not routine. It's not repetitive work. Your daily work that you do every day typically does not require a project. Typically, what you do every day in your work may go toward the completion of a project in some fashion, but typically your everyday work is not a project. So don't get those two confused. Okay. It's really important to recognize the difference between projects and operational work because you manage them differently and you manage the resources differently. So just make sure that you understand the difference in projects and operational work. Of course, another way of illustrating the unique nature of a project or project work is in terms of a project life cycle. So projects have they're initiated, they're planned, they're executed, and then they close. And all through this life cycle, they're monitored and controlled for quality, budget, time, resources, risks, those types of things. So just know that there is a definite life cycle in your projects. Let's see. Other things I want to make sure I get across here. Speaking of projects, there's usually a project manager that manages the project. It's typically there has to be someone in charge of the project work to make sure that it gets done, make sure that it's planned and organized and executed and monitored successfully. So because the projects are so uncertain and they are temporary in nature, that the project manager he or she does face different challenges that a functional manager may not face. The project manager has to negotiate for resources. They have to negotiate time. They have to negotiate for money. Most projects do have a finite budget, and sometimes they have to negotiate for more money because of the uncertainty of the risk involved. It's caused them to need more money. So, the project manager works real close with the customer, the project sponsor, the person who actually is the champion or begins this whole project process, the project management team, of course, and other key stakeholders. So just think about the stakeholders. Now we're talking about this part of it where you have the project manager who is kind of the center of the influence of the project, and then you have all these other stakeholders that he or she will need to communicate and negotiate with. The project manager is really held responsible for the project. He or she is responsible for completing the project work on time, on budget, and within a certain quality. But now, even though the project manager is in charge of a project, he or she does very similar tasks as functional managers, as other managers. They end up planning, they schedule, they motivate, and they control, just the same as a functional manager might. But what makes them unique is that they manage the temporary and non-repetitive activities to make sure that the project is complete within a fixed duration of time. where unlike functional managers who may take over existing operations, project managers create project teams and organizations. And then these are organizations on their own, where one might not have existed before. So the project manager has to decide, what gets done and how things should be done instead of simply managing set processes. They meet challenges of each phase of the project lifecycle, and every phase is going to be a little different, where planning might be a little more challenging than the initiating process or the phase of the project. So they do have different challenges at different times of the project lifecycle. And of course, the project manager always has to work within a real diverse troop of characters to complete a project. So they're going to have, a project management team that may never have been working together before. They'll have project sponsors, a sponsor or multiple sponsors, probably just one or two. They even have executive officials who are kind of in the middle of the project too. So they have to be careful with how they manage their relationships. Let's see. I think that's about all I want to mention to get started. But and go back to project manager. You want to make sure that he or she is successful and that they're comfortable in the skills in the areas of influencing the effectiveness of their communications and their stakeholder engagement, because they do spend so much time working with others throughout the project, and they spend a whole lot of time communicating. Probably 80-90% of their time is spent communicating to someone, either the project team, the customer, or the project sponsor. So it's one of their major skills that has to be effective in the project. So the reading is assigned in the week one module. So if you just read through the assigned material and then think about how projects might work in your organization. When you start reading through the material, think about how projects are working in your organization. We'll have a discussion on that this week, so hopefully we'll spend some time discussing your projects and how they work in your organization, how you might not have seen a project before, but now after you're reading, you see that projects really are working. They're ongoing in your organization, and they help your organization reach their strategic objectives overall. So anyway, let's discuss some of these key topics for week one, and I'll see you in the discussions.